Hello, hello. I'm starting to get this kind of fluffy around the bald look that I hate so much, so I'm going to get buzzed next time you see me. Well, here we are at chapter 16 of Anyone Got a Match? For those of you who like actual physical books, as do I, enjoy with me smelling and also feeling. Right? So now you have the sense of how much has passed, how much to go, like I do while I hold it. Okay, pardon the cough noise. This is live, so you got to put up with that. Might have been up Dr. I reconnecting. Let's see how we do on chapter 16. Meanwhile, back at the Stonewall Jackson Hotel, Polly was waking slowly from a refreshing night's sleep. She stretched her bones, made 4 yawns, too long, too short, and looked at the bedside clock. She was pleased to note it was only a few minutes after 10, which meant she could unhurriedly bathe, breakfast, dress, and perform a little sorcery on her face and hair before Virgil arrived to take her to lunch at 12:30. Room service in this southern hostelry being not only magnolia gracious, but also honeysuckle slow, Polly had learned that if she ordered breakfast before she got in the tub, she had time for a leisurely soak while awaiting the waiter. "This is room 411," she said into the phone. "I would like 1 small orange juice, 1 large coffee, and 2 slices of whole wheat toast, no butter. And will you please send up the latest magazines, omitting, if you can, modern romances and official detective." She poured a tub of hot water, then added fragrant unguents and official detective. She poured a tub of hot water, then added fragrant unguents, and settled in with a sigh remarkably voluptuous for one who was not a voluptuary. And Polly was surely not. It was pure pragmatism that dictated this bath. Since Ira provided her with no satisfaction at all, she seized pragmatically such other comforts as were available, like long sleeps and extended yawns, and vodka martinis, and daily lunches with Virgil, and occasional conversations with acanthus luminaries like Linda Nevarts and Dr. Selenko, and as now, dreamy, unhasty immersions in perfumed baths. She was therefore considerably annoyed when she heard a knocking on the door of the suite less than 10 minutes after she had arranged herself comfortably in the tub. Why, on this morning, she thought testily, should room service suddenly get so rapid? "Coming, coming," she shouted as the knocking continued. Muttering and dripping, she got out of the tub, flung on a terry cloth robe, and made a trail of wet footprints from the bath through the sitting room. She stepped backward as she opened the door, concealing herself behind it. "Good morning, Swifty," she said. "You must be new here. Will you put the tray on the coffee table, please?" Let's hope anybody out there. Okay, continuing in hopes. Okay, but it was not a tray-bearing waiter who entered the suite. It was young Gabriel, eyes frantic and knuckles cracking like pistol shots. Polly's jaw fell in stark disbelief. "You've got to be kidding," she whispered. "Please, Mrs. Shapian," he begged. "I won't stay long." "You most certainly won't. You will leave now." "Please close." "Most certainly won't. You will leave now." "Please close the door." "Go," said Polly, pointing one finger, using the other hands to clutch her robe together. "You're standing in a draft." "Out! Out!" 2 chambermaids, pushing a cart of linens down the corridor, paused and observed the scene with frank curiosity. Polly swung the door shut. "Gabriel, listen," she said, talking quietly, dipping deep into her reservoir of patience. "I speak to you as a woman old enough to be your mother. The last thing I want is to be unkind. I realize you're going to be unkind. I realize you're going through some kind of hell, and believe it or not, I'm sympathetic. However, you simply must stay away from me. This situation is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. It's obscene. Excuse me, ma'am, but you're wrong. It is tragic and beautiful is what it is. It is over, is what it is. Are you going peacefully, or do I call the house Dick? I am going peacefully if you'll just let me say what I came to say. Polly walked weakly to the chair farthest from Gabriel and sank down. All right, she sighed. Talk, but keep your distance. Mrs. Shapian, exclaimed Gabriel, profoundly shocked. Is that what you think I came here to molest you? How do I know what you're going to do? I never met anybody like you in my whole life. Nobody has, he said desolately. I'll tell you something weird. Half the time I don't even believe I exist. That would help explain a lot of things, said Polly. But I do exist, he assured her. And that's the tragedy. I exist, and so do you. And as long as you exist, somehow, come what may, I've got to be near you. Polly pulled her robe more tightly around her. Okay, Gabriel, you said what you came to say, and I listened, just like I promised. Now you're leaving, just like you promised. True? But I didn't finish what I came to say. Sorry. Proceed, please. Rapidly, please. Yes, ma'am. You know that big white Spanish-style house next to yours in Bel Air? I know it well, she answered nervously. How do you know it? This real estate man out in California sent me a picture of it. Why? I bought it, answered Gabriel. Polly tamped down a shriek. What do you mean you bought it? That house is worth $150,000, and you are an 18-year-old boy. Actually, he said, I paid $175,000. But that's okay, because I got $1 million from my trust fund on my last birthday. I get 5 more millions when I'm 21. I feel like my sanity is running out my ears, Polly announced solemnly. I know it's bad taste to talk about how rich you are, he went on. I only mentioned it so we won't worry. You won't worry that I can't take care of you if we get married. I mean, in case you ever want to leave Mr. Shapian. Gabriel, pay close attention. I never want to leave Mr. Shapian. No, then how come you're spending so much time with Virgil Tatum? Anger propelled Polly to her feet. Have you been following me? He blushed incandescent red. I'm sorry, he said in a tiny voice. That is the filthiest, sneakiest thing I ever heard of, she declared. Have you no shame? Yes, ma'am, he replied earnestly. I am miserably, loathsomely ashamed. Aren't you? Me? For what? For spending so much time with Virgil, he answered. Obviously, you wouldn't be chasing Virgil if you still loved Mr. Shapian. Polly clenched her fists tight, seeking control. She was not entirely successful. Young man, she said, I want to show you what you're doing to me. It's 10:15 in the morning, and I have not had my breakfast yet. However, watch. She walked rapidly to the sideboard, uncorked a bottle of vodka, lifted it to her lips, tilted it back, and did not stop swallowing until at least 4 ounces had disappeared. You see, Gabriel, she said, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand, you see what you are doing to a respectable American housewife? It grieves me something terrible, Mrs. Shapian, he said sincerely. It hurts me real bad to see you in such terrible shape. I swear I'd give anything if I knew how to stay away from you, but I don't, and that's that. I guess you better get used to the notion. He lifted his arm in a small, despairing gesture of farewell and left the suite. Polly looked at the bottle of vodka she was still holding. Her hand started to raise it to her mouth, but her other, wiser hand came shooting out, snatched the bottle, and returned it to the sideboard. Calm, she said to herself, and sat down slowly in a chair beside the desk. Calm, 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 calm. Think green thoughts. Think of sylvan glades and bosky dells. Forget you are soaking wet and pursued by a demented boy and married to a squashed Armenian. Calm, calm, she told herself, and soon she grew still, except for one hand, the wicked, vodka-wanting hand. It lunged out and grabbed the telephone on the desk. Where the hell is my breakfast? She yelled. On the way, ma'am, stammered a terrified voice, and indeed the waiter was knocking on the door within 2 minutes. He brought in a tray. Coffee, juice, and toast were neatly arrayed on one end, and on the other end was a stack of magazines. Who the hell ordered magazines? Yelled Polly. You did, ma'am, replied the waiter, timidly. I'm sorry, Polly. You did, ma'am, replied the waiter, timidly. I'm sorry, I can't stop yelling, yelled Polly. But something's gone wrong. Quarterly of Owens Mill. Polly opened the cover. A short poem, surrounded by wide margins, was printed on the first page. Oh, speckled love, was the title of the poem. Underneath was the author's name, printed on the first page. Oh, Speckled Love was the title of the poem. Underneath was the author's name, by Leda. Polly read, Oh, Speckled Love, by Leda. Then she blinked and read it again, her lips moving slowly as her eyes scanned the lines. Sand between the lover's toes recalls like thorns the flawless rose. Gritting, crunching in the shoes, recollects, rejoices, ruse untames blood that starts the hearts till sand adheres to yearning parts. Rasping flesh in grasping hand, abrasive love, pervasive sand. Sorrow learns what bliss can teach on the fierce and tender beach. Polly closed her jaw and the magazine. It is my considered opinion, she said gravely to herself, that O Speckled Love is, beyond any doubt, the worst poem ever written in the history of the entire world. Leda, whoever the poor woman is, must be returned with all possible dispatch to her sandbox. Polly stood, left her breakfast tray, and went back to the tub. Her best hope of recovery, she decided, lay with hydrotherapy. She added hot water and fresh bath oil, removed her robe, slipped into the fragrant liquid, folded her arms on her breast, and wooed peace. By and by it arrived, and brought with it a smile. And soon the smile ripened into a giggle, a non-synthetic, non-hysterical giggle of pure billowing amusement. Sand between the lover's toes, thought Polly. Come on. Healing laughter bubbled out of her. She rose from the bath, toweled, put on underthings, and sat at the vanity to apply her face. No easy chore, because couplets from Oh Speckled Love kept coming back to fling her into long, jiggling guffaws. But with good humor, she wiped the mascara from her ears and the lipstick from her nose and restored them to their assigned positions. Then, between giggles, she did some cunning things with her hair and went to select a dress. The rack in the closet was hung half with Ira's clothes, half with Polly's. Love, oh, speckled love, she sang hilariously as she riffled through her wardrobe. She settled on a two-pieced Don Lopez, of wool as blue as her eyes. The result, as revealed in the full-length mirror on the closet door, was eminently satisfactory. What shoes? Polly asked herself, and immediately had to sit down while a new fit of laughter rolled in. Gritty crunching in the shoes, thought Polly, slapping her thighs. Oh, Leda, honey, I don't know who you are, but this I do know. You are fruitier than a nutcake. She waited for the last tickling twitch of laughter and returned to the shoe rack, which stood tilted on the floor of the closet. The rack held 8 pairs of Polly's shoes, all in a line, and beside them were 3 pairs of Ira's. Her eye ran quickly along the row of pumps and chose pair number 8, the black suede. As she reached down for the shoes, her hand brushed against the pair of Ira's, which were directly adjacent. A sudden frown creased Polly's brow. She froze in jackknife position. Not a muscle moved except for the fingertips resting on Ira's shoes. Deliberately, delicately, probingly, they stroked the leather. These shoes feel strange, thought Polly. These shoes feel, what is the word I want? Gritty is the word I want. Gritty. Now she flew into motion. She lifted Ira's shoes and held them to the light. A film of sand was clearly visible. She shook the shoes beside her ear and heard the soft, scuffling rustle of sand. She turned the shoes upside down and watched the pale, scattered grains come trickling out. Carefully, she returned Ira's shoes to their place on the rack. She picked up her black suede pumps, put them on, and walked without expression into the sitting room. She opened the copy of The Mermaid and reread Leda's poem. She closed the magazine, went to the sideboard, filled a highball glass with vodka, and took a first slow sip. Why am I not screaming? She asked herself. The answer came readily. I am not screaming because screaming is the opposite of action, and I must act. I must act or I will crumble. After this final outrage, in a morning of outrages, in half a lifetime of outrages, I must do something. But do what? And to whom? Shall I summon Gabriel, put him over my knee, and spank him? Shall I go find Boo and snatch her bald-headed? Shall I wait for Ira to come home and give him 1,000 kicks with my little pointy shoes? All three prospects had a certain fleeting appeal, but Polly knew that none of them touched on the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter, she thought, making slow but steady progress toward the bottom of her glass of vodka, the heart of the matter is simply this: I have been ignominiously cuckolded. To be cuckolded is, of course, always ignominious, but in this case the ignominy is total, for I have been cuckolded by two fools. A new thought jarred Polly. Could I be the third fool? She wondered. Well, let's see. About Boo, I am not now, nor have I ever been, a fool. It's true I found her moderately attractive in the past. After all, she does have a warm, generous soul, but I knew from the very beginning her patrician brow had never been troubled by an idea. And she gets no better. Witness, oh speckled love. And Ira? Have I been a fool about him? Was I stupid to go on believing that his quick, tough, valiant intelligence remained intact? Buried, yes, but intact, still whole, still capable of returning to full fiery life, and most important, still wise enough to realize that he is married to one hell of a dame? This I counted on, Ira's intelligence. This I trusted. Sure, I've seen him do a million foolish things, but I've never lost faith that someday the big bright beacon in his skull would light up and show him the truth, that he loves me, always has, always will, and properly so, because I am a woman well worth loving. But could I be wrong? She walked over to pour another drink. Am I really the woman I think I am? If so, why is my husband still banging Boo? This time I can't dismiss it as a youthful indiscretion. It is not 18 years ago, it is today, and Ira has had plenty of time to learn who I am and what I am. Maybe he sees something I don't. Maybe he's discovered there's nothing left of me. Nothing anyhow that would interest a man. Mirror, mirror on the wall, said Polly to the looking-glass over the sideboard. Is any woman left at all? That's what I have to know, she thought, pouring vodka. Am I a woman or the empty shell of a woman? If I'm a woman, I'll hold that Armenian if I have to nail him to the floor. If I'm not, the best thing I can do for both of us is to let go, and the sooner the better. But how do I find out whether I'm a woman? Who on earth can let me know? The telephone rang. Yes, Mr. Virgil Tatum is waiting in the lobby, said the desk clerk.